What's up guys, it's been a little while. So today I wanted to make an important video about when to sell Bitcoin. If you guys recall on this channel, we were bullish on Bitcoin in these prices right here, and I kept saying, it was a good dip buy opportunity and it was the time to start accumulating Bitcoin right before 2024. And well, here we are guys. We are about, I think, 26 days from the halving of Bitcoin. So I decided that it was a good time to make a video about when to sell Bitcoin, right? Because that's the hardest part in a bull market. It's when to sell. Making money in the next 4 months, guys, is not going to be hard. What's going to be hard is getting out and not losing your gains. All right, just before, I wanted to just kind of, do a quick overview of what's going on in the markets. And as you guys can see, guys, the US has printed $1.2 trillion, guys, a couple of days ago. And that money is only until October, guys. So this is insane. So this is basically telling me, guys, that they're probably going to print another $1 trillion after October just for the year of 2024. And on top of that, we have probably 3 rate cuts, right, which are expected. I've been vocal about rate cuts, happening in the second half of 2024. We seem, to be on track for that. Obviously, inflation could pick back up. For now, it seems that liquidity, guys, should be coming back in the markets. Also, I just want to show you guys the excess liquidity chart on Sentiment Trader. And as you guys can see, right, we are in the bottoming process. So basically this chart is basically saying that there's a high probability that they're going to continue shooting liquidity in the cycle, and that we are at the bottoming process of liquidity being drained in the system, and that we should start having positive news on liquidity, guys. And as you guys can know, that's what moves Bitcoin. Okay, it's an edge against liquidity and money printing. Obviously, everyone knows this at this point. So this is kind of why right now you just want to look at the data, and it's basically very bullish. On the short term, obviously, if we look at the liquidity, Bitcoin should have a little retracement, right, to liquidate some long that are very leveraged, right, in the ballpark of 68,000, in that ballpark. So, obviously, on the short term, I do expect some weakness, right? And that's what we're seeing right now as we speak in the market. We're seeing Bitcoin down about 1 to 2%. That's just the short term, right? I'm not worried. So this is a very good short-term indicator to look at, which is the Bitcoin liquidity map. And so right now, as you can see, there's a lot of long leverage that can, get liquidated. And afterwards, we should, pick back up. All right, on the midterm, I'm actually quite bullish. As you can see, the next 2 months should be green. This month was supposed to be red, and that's exactly what happened. We had the weakness based on seasonality data. And as well, as you can kind of see, the MACD also seems to confirm that we should, have an uptrend very soon. So on the midterm, I'm bullish, right? It's just on the short term, a little bit of volatility to the downside, which is normal. That's how the market works. But midterm, I'm quite bullish, guys. For the next 2 months afterwards, I think we're going to have a nice leg up. All right. And so for the long term, guys, the roadmap for the long term of Bitcoin for the next coming months, I am very bullish. Obviously, if we look at the Bitcoin spiral clock, which I like to use as a kind of like a map, just to look at the windows of weakness and strength, you can see that we are approaching the halving right here, which is the orange circle. And once we have the halving, we tend to have, 1, 2, 3, 4 bullish month after. So obviously that's to be seen. But if history repeats itself, we should have a very nice solid 4 months of bullishness for the price of Bitcoin. And obviously, guys, on the long term, right, never forget the price appreciation of Bitcoin compared to the US dollar, right? As you guys can see here. So right before I start showing you guys the tools that I will use to get out of my positions, I just want to quickly talk about the bullish market structure of Bitcoin on the daily time frame, right? As you guys can see, obviously we're in an uptrend, right? So these are the probabilities of Bitcoin on the daily time frames. All right, so as you guys can see here, guys, like we had a retracement to the means, to the green line of the standard deviation range of the daily time frame, and to the green, and this is very typical of the price action during a bull market. So you'll often see the price go up, right? So go up, then go back down to the means, and then go back up, guys. Obviously, there's always a possibility that we have a bigger pullback to the purple line, which is the second standard deviation. That for me will be a level where I will be adding to my position. At the moment, I have my full bag. I'm good. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm up a lot. I'm good. But if we do have that retracement, that is going to be a buying opportunity that I will be taking advantage of, which is still a possibility, right? And it would be about a 20% correction from where we are right now, and we're up at about 69,000 on Bitcoin, right? So it's still a possibility, but it is not something that you usually see when a asset is in a bull trend. So overall, super healthy. I'm very happy to see this type of price action right before the halving. And historically speaking, don't forget that whatever the price of Bitcoin is after the halving, usually Bitcoin will double that price. So if we close at $70,000, guys, after the halving, that would mean that Bitcoin should minimum go to $140,000 US, which would be insane. All right, so now guys, we're gonna dive in on the specific tools I'm going to be using, right, to get out of my Bitcoin position and all my alts. All right, so now that we know where we are in, the Bitcoin cycle, approximately, we know that, we're arriving at the halving. We're most likely going to have 4 months of very bullish price action. So now we need to prepare in advance for what's the hardest to do during a bull market, which is knowing when to sell. All right. So the number one thing is going to be looking at on-chain data. All right, guys. So this website is called Look Into Bitcoin. Okay. Highly recommend it. It's completely free, guys. If you're not using this, you're going to be at a disadvantage in my humble opinion. All right, so the number one tool I'm going to be using here is the MVRV Z-score, which is very popular. It's a very popular indicator that has called the top of Bitcoin quite accurately. It's not the most accurate, but it is pretty accurate at kind of, gauging where we are in the cycle. And so for me personally, guys, I'm not going to wait for this Z-score to be in the red here, okay, like prior cycles, to start selling out of my position, right? Because I'm going to be slowly dollar cost averaging out of my position, and I'm going to explain to you my blueprint, because I'm not just using this indicator. I'm using about, how many of those? Like about 10 indicators on chain, right? So basically, when about 68 to 70% of all these indicators are flashing red and telling me to sell, I'm going to be selling 85% of my entire crypto portfolio. All right, so I'm not going to be waiting here to try to catch the top perfectly. Okay, so at the moment that happens, I am selling 85%, guys. All right, so I'm not sticking around. And of course, then I'll keep the other, percentage. I'll leave it there, and then, I'll see. We might go higher. Like, I expect that the price keeps going higher after I sell, and that's okay. All right, so this is the number one. And as you guys can see, we haven't even entered really like crazy levels yet. So personally, when we hit this number 6 here on the Z-score, guys, that's probably when I'm gonna start, taking some profits. I might not sell 85% of the position, right? But definitely 25 to 30% just off of this indicator, because I really, really like it. I think that a lot of market participants are also using it, all right? So you don't want to piss against the wind. And so this is definitely something that a lot of bigger players, people with a lot of money, are going to be looking at to take profit and to dump on other people that are, more newbies. All right, so the number two, guys, is going to be the pure multiple. I don't like this one personally. I really don't like it. I don't find it very precise. It's less precise than the z-score, but it's still something that I'm gonna keep an eye on and put it on an Excel spreadsheet basically with all these other indicators that I'm gonna show you. And then at the moment, 68 to 70% of them are flashing red. I'm out, guys. Okay, so this is one of them. At the moment, we're still good. The third one is going to be the very simple 200-week moving average heat map. Okay, so basically showing you the color of the heat map of how far the Bitcoin price is of the 200 moving average of the weekly time frame. And so as you guys can see, we're still blue, guys. All right, so technically it's not a bad time to buy right now, but personally I have my bag. I'm not buying right now. The best thing in my humble opinion is just to hold and do absolutely nothing for the next 4 months to come. All right, so the fourth one is going to be the realized cap hodl waves. All right, and again, guys, I'm not waiting for this to go at extremes like the other prior tops. Okay, when the orange color here reaches the 1K, guys, that for me right there, that's a okay, start taking profit. The fifth one is going to be the net unrealized profit lost. And this one though is concerning, obviously. So this one for me is starting to look, pretty red flag for me. Okay, so as you guys are gonna see, there's already a couple of those indicators that are flashing red, but we're still early, right? We don't have 70% of them all flashing red. So that's why we're still early, but it's also not the best time to be buying, right? So that's kind of why you really want to be paying attention to these, because they're really going to help you navigate where we are in the cycle. So this definitely is not bullish. This is pretty bearish. We're already pretty, we're in the relief denial phase before the euphoria and greed, which would match where we are in the cycle. About 27, 26 days before the halving. So right on track when the euphoria and greed should start kicking in after the halving. All right, so the sixth one is the Bitcoin rainbow price chart indicator. This one is pretty damn accurate. I personally use something else that is very similar that I will be showing. That's the third thing that I'm going to be looking at to sell Bitcoin, which I will talk about. So this one obviously is telling us that right now we are entering, the bull phase, right? We broke out of the blue colors, which are the accumulation ranges. Another one is the Bitcoin short-term holder realized profit. So as you guys can see here, like when we dip below, guys, that tend to be, the beginning of the bear market. So obviously right now we're above, so everything is good. But when that does happen, that's necessarily not a good time to be thinking of buying the dip. Not yet, because then we tend to have, 1-year bear markets, right? If history repeats itself again. Then the other one will be the Bitcoin Cycle Master as well. This one, I don't like it either, but I still will use it. And as you guys can see, we're pretty high on this one. Personally, I think the bands will start going higher, kind of like what it did here in these prior cycles. So that's why I'm using it, but I'm also not gonna start panic selling because we're in high levels right now. All right, so the other one is the HODL ratio. So this one is pretty damn good, guys. It's pretty accurate, especially to buy the dip. Very accurate for dip buying and selling as well. So this one, obviously, it kind of failed though here in the prior cycle, right? But this time, seeing where we are in the price action right before the halving and being this high, I'm suspecting that this time we're really gonna go high on this one, kind of like what we did in the prior cycles that we had here. All right. Then we're gonna have a Bitcoin price forecasting tool as well. So this one is pretty damn accurate as well, especially when the purple line and the pink line touch the blue line. That tend to be a good time to get out. Obviously, it did fail in the last bull market we had in 2021 to call the top. So that's why you cannot rely on only one of those on-chain indicators. You need to use multiple of them. You make a spreadsheet of it and you track it. And then when 70% of them tell you to get out, you get out. Don't be greedy. I know I'm repeating myself, but I'm doing it for you guys and also for me, because man, I'm telling you, if we have 4 months of insanity, we're gonna be so filthy rich, guys. We're gonna forget to sell. So that's why you need to get this in your head. All right. Okay, so the next one is the value days destroyed multiple. So this one is also flashing red, guys. So as you guys can see, I have about 3 of these indicators that are already flashing red. Obviously, this is not rocket science. Okay, when it turns red, that tend to be a good time to start taking profit. All right. And as you guys can see, we already had a little bit of blood here. So it doesn't mean that we're going to crash, right? As you guys can see, it happened multiple times in prior cycles before, we actually topped. But this is definitely not bullish. Then the other one I kind of like is the delta top. This one failed as well. A lot of these indicators actually failed in the last cycle. I expect them to perform well though this cycle because the price of Bitcoin is so high before the halving. So I think this one is going to work. So obviously, again, not rocket science. When the price action starts touching the purple line, you start taking profit. And then something that's very similar, it's like its cousin, it's the top cap. I like this one less because it's too bullish. As you guys can see here, it's at 341,000 US per coin for Bitcoin, guys. So that's a little bit too bullish for me. I do have these price targets in my own Fibonacci channel that I'm going to talk about right after these indicators, but it's not a high probability. So for me, I would not rely on this one because it's just way too far away, and this one might make you, miss the top. And the last one is going to be the good old pi cycle top indicator, right? Again, this is very simple. When the below line touches the above line, it tends to coincide with the top. And this one is actually quite accurate, guys. It's very accurate. We'll see if it works again in this cycle. Definitely want to pay attention, kind of like the Z score, because those are 2 of these types of indicators that people are just looking at. And at the end of the day, it's a reinforcing cycle, okay? It's just psychology. When you have most participants in the market all looking at the same indicators, waiting for a sell signal, right? Sometimes, you should even sell before it actually happened. A couple of days, a couple of weeks, right before they touch, you sell, you start taking profit. Because I'm telling you, when those hit, you're just gonna see a bunch of sell order candles. It's gonna be nasty, all right? And you don't want to get caught in that, because then all of a sudden there's slippage, the bid and ask is all effed up, and you're just gonna lose thousands just in slippage and just panicking, selling at wrong prices, right? So obviously we don't want to be that person, and sadly there's going to be a lot of these people in 4 to 6 months from now. So the second type of indicator I'm going to be looking at to get out of my position is the good old sentiment, guys. So fear and greed, very simple. This one though is a little bit tricky, right? It's useful to kind of buy the dip, but to sell like right now we're already at 80%, as you guys can see, and we haven't even had the halving, right? So it could be saying, have a big correction after the halving. That is maybe something that it might be implying, right? But it's very vague, so you cannot just rely on this one, but it's definitely something to keep on your radar, but it can be extremely misleading. So what I like to do when it comes to sentiment is good old Google search, guys. All right, so Google search for me is better than just looking at the fear and greed sentiment. And as you can see, this is a screenshot of today. So just very simple keywords like Bitcoin price, Solana coin, right? And as you can see, the blue line, Bitcoin price, it's not really high, guys. Okay, When everyone is searching Bitcoin price, that's when you know you're at the FOMO, guys. That's the FOMO stage. Honestly, don't even wait for it to hit 100%. When we hit the 75%, guys, right here, that's when you really want to start taking profit. Right, guys, so I'm almost finished. So the last third indicator that I'm going to be using, okay, is the good old Fibonacci channel and the Bollinger Band on the monthly time frame on the logarithmic chart. Super important to use, okay? I'm just going to show you very quickly, like historically speaking, the key levels, okay? So the black line right here is the 23% retracement on the Fibonacci channel. And as you guys can see, it's a very important level when we begin the parabolic bull run of the Bitcoin cycle after the halving. As you can see right here, when we broke in 2017, right? And it did the same thing prior. It's just, I don't know why there's missing data here on this chart, but anyways, it's not important. So right here, we broke the black line and then poof, right? And then I want you guys to look at in what percent channel we went before we top. We topped on the red and purple line right here, which is the 78 and 88% retracement, all right? And you're gonna see the same pattern, all right? So this was the COVID crash, and then once we broke that black line, okay guys, where did we go? Again, we went to that red and we didn't go to the purple, but we did go to the turquoise, red, and almost the purple line, but we didn't make it enough. And then, you know, we had the bear market, all right? And so in my humble opinion, those would be kind of like my projections. So at the moment, we are just breaking the black line, guys. We just broke the black line. So this is basically telling me that we are entering that parabolic run. And if history repeats itself, we should go minimum to that turquoise line right here and that red line, and potentially even to that purple line right here. If that makes sense. We should go in this ballpark. All right. So obviously you can't just look at this and wait for the color codes to touch, right? But at least it gives you like a good kind of visual of where, based on history, Bitcoin could go. And if you do a Fibonacci retracement, sorry, not this one, this one. So if you do a Fibonacci retracement as well, right? And we kind of zoom in the price action right before I'm going to show you the secret sauce of the Bollinger Band right after. So, you know, Bitcoin tend, historically speaking, to minimum go to the 161 Fibonacci, which is about 103,000, okay? But this is only would be in the green color of the Fibonacci channel. But it also tends to go way higher in about the 3.6018 Fibonacci, which does coincide, right, with, sorry, it's not turquoise, it's actually green, sorry guys. So the green line right here, right? So the green line here, red line, and the purple. Okay, so it kind of could coincide, right? That would be pretty insane. That would be crazy, obviously. But in the same time, it could not happen. So how am I going to know if we're not going to those levels and I need to sell, right? So that's when the Bollinger Bands come in, guys. So as you can see here, I'm going to make it smaller, right? We're almost done. Thank you for your patience. It's a video that's worth listening to if, you know, you want to not lose a lot of money in the market, in my humble opinion. So right here, guys, on the Bollinger Band, you can see every time, it's not really, like, it's not very fancy, but you're gonna get the point of what I'm about to say. Every time we have like these parabolic runs, right? Like here, obviously you don't need to be a genius to see what the Bollinger Band is doing, right? On the logarithmic chart, it's just poof, it just drops like a rock, right? But then this is where you need to pay attention right here. You see when it curves right there? This is something that came to my attention from a Twitter account, and it was kind of very interesting, and I never even thought about that. But you see here how the trend changes here, and you can see if I put like a mark here. All right, so now I'm just going to go back to the price action because it's a little bit confusing. You can see, right, that it's pretty damn accurate at telling you like, hey buddy, like it might be a good time to, you know, take some profit. All right, so this is definitely something I'm going to be keeping an eye. And this is why right now, guys, I'm just bullish, because look, we're not even like, we have all this to go before thinking about taking profits. So I mean, that's pretty damn crazy, right, when you think about it. But then at the moment this thing starts curving, guys, like this, to go back up, that's when, my God, here you want to sell everything. And if you're still bag holding after and we go back up, you know, man, you're gonna have a rough time. Anyways, guys, that's it. Sorry, I know it was long, but it's worth it. Listen to this video, come back to this video. I will re-listen to my own video because these are all the things I'm going to be using. Obviously, I'm using a little bit more things on the side as well, but you know, I don't really want to talk about it. And honestly, this is enough. Like, this is just enough to make a good video. It's already long, and also I'll be, you know, learning new stuff as well, guys. So definitely, you know, subscribe, and I'll be posting more videos about it. Especially when I do sell my crypto, I will make a video. I won't forget to make a video. And yeah, guys, so enjoy. I hope this helped. So stay blessed, have a great day, and see you in the next video.